Hello and welcome to ThePrint. Today we have with us a very special guest, Ambassador of the European Union to India and Bhutan, Ugo Astuto. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting.
So, Ambassador, we'll be speaking about India's G20 chair, among other issues. But first, I would like to start with a very unique initiative that India has started, in fact, as the G20 chair. It's holding the Voice of Global South Summit on the 12th and the 13th of January. So this is a very unique initiative. We never seen another G20 chair hold something like this. So what do you make of the Voice of Global South Summit? And do you think India should continue this even after its G20 presidency?
Yes, thank you very much. Well, as you may know, actually, the European Union has been advocating for long to focus on the needs of the global South. The European Union is globally the largest provider of development aid and also the largest provider of climate finance towards our most vulnerable partners. Inevitably, with a particular focus on Africa, because Africa is our neighbor. In practice, for instance, you may remember that during the German G20 presidency, I think it was 2017, there was a particular initiative on Africa. And during the Italian presidency in 2021, a major debt relief initiative has been taken. So it's just to say that we agree on the need to work for a sustainable, inclusive, and green growth, which leaves no one behind. So I think we are on the same page as India when it comes to paying particular attention to the need of the global South.
Yes, and I believe a lot of non-G20 members were also invited for this event. What do you think about that?
I think that's a good initiative, which follows a pattern whereby also past presidents have been invited, a number of other guest countries, including from Africa and the south of the world. So I think this will certainly contribute to the inclusiveness of the conversation.
And do you think India, who's also trying to be a voice for the Global South, should continue this initiative after its G20 presidency?
That's certainly not for me to say. Well, what I can say is that I definitely believe we are on the same page. We need to listen to the needs of the Global South and to act accordingly.
So I think it's safe to say that India has taken over this G20 presidency at a time of great turmoil in the global economy. You know, we're seeing global recessionary trends in Europe, in the US, we're seeing low spending, we're seeing a lot of central banks have raised interest rates. And at the same time, India has also faced a lot of backlash for its energy imports from Moscow. So how do you see it sort of balancing its interests as well as, you know, its responsibility as the G20 chair? Do you think it's been balancing this tightrope effectively?
Well, look, unfortunately, we cannot say that we are in a business as usual situation. We have the Russian aggression against Ukraine, which is a blatant violation of international law, a violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of a peaceful neighbor. So what we are trying to do as European Union, together with our friends and partners, is to isolate the Russian leadership, to support Ukraine, be it militarily or financially, and to act in a way that this aggression stops. This aggression must stop. It's now 1 year with incredible devastation and loss of life. Inevitably, this extraordinary situation also has an impact on G20 proceedings. We must take into account what the facts on the ground. At the same time, we want to work with India and to support the Indian chair so that the G20 is successful in its objectives. I think we have got the president of the Indonesian presidency, which has achieved a significant result, and we trust the Indian chair will steer the discussion and the conversation in G20 towards a successful outcome.
You spoke about isolating the Russian leadership, which is quite interesting. I believe the G7 reports indicate that next month they might come out with 2 more price caps, you know. One price cap on Russian refined products, one for products trading at a premium to crude oil. and the other price cap for those trading at a discount. So, how do you see this affecting India?
Well, look, we as Europe, when it comes, for instance, to seaborne Russian oil, we have an embargo. We are not importing any longer seaborne Russian oil. In Europe, the era of Russian fossil fuels is over. But we also have a stake in ensuring global stability of prices. And that's the point about the price cap, the oil price cap, which has been put into action. The idea is to ensure that the prices remain stable and not subject to fluctuations and to speculation. And I have to say it's working because the price has indeed stabilized. And we believe that India will also benefit from this mechanism for stability, together with a number of our partners, including largely in the south of the world.
So, if I may pivot a little bit to the India EU FTA, which the talks for which were resumed only very recently, it seems to be that with Sweden taking over the presidency of the EU Council, we are expecting a little more momentum in this FTA because Sweden has in fact said that one of its priorities as EU Council President is to push this FTA with India. In fact, it's given a deadline of by the end of 2023, if not early 2024. So what do you think about this? Sweden taking over the baton, and what do you think will be the progress with these FTA talks in the months from now?
Well, I'm sure you recall that the decision to resume FTA negotiation has been taken in 2021 by all the 27 member states gathering together in a summit together with European institutions. So what I can tell you, there is a very strong political mandate emanating from the EU institution and all EU member states. We are all on the same page. We want to work hard to achieve an FTA which is comprehensive, ambitious, and balanced. We have already had 3 rounds of negotiation. A 4th one will be held in Europe around the month of March. And again, what I can tell you, we shall work consistently and with determination to achieve a positive outcome. The negotiation is complex. There is no point in hiding, precisely because our FTA is ambitious and it's broad, but it's worth pursuing.
So there are some sticky points in the FTA discussions, as I believe one of them is intellectual property rights, one of them is data security. How do you see India and the EU sort of overcoming these roadblocks so that they can achieve an FTA by that deadline of 2023, if not early 24?
Look, the negotiations are ongoing, so I don't think I should enter into this sort of details. But what I can tell you is that both sides are working hard to achieve a positive result, and the atmosphere is constructive. So we will do our utmost, I think, on both sides.
Okay. And would it be safe to assume that EU is also looking at how India negotiates its UK FTA? Because I believe that will be rounded up by March.
Well, I think the EUIndia FTA is somewhat one of a kind, because we are talking about 27 member states working together. We are talking about the largest world trading player. We are talking about the 3rd largest trade partner for India. So I think we should look at the EUIndia FTA in its own merit.
And I think we spoke about these global recessionary trends earlier on in our discussion, which seem to be emanating from the West, specifically markets. Also, we're seeing low spending in markets like the US and Europe. And we're also seeing these affect certain sectors in the Indian economy, such as textiles. Textile has been badly hit by these global recessionary trends. Do you see a way to mitigate the effects of these troubling trends on the global south?
Well, there is a risk of recession, and the causes are multifold, but I think I can easily summarize by the post-COVID shock, and now the Russian aggression and the weaponization of the fuel and food prices. I've read somewhere that one can say already that 1/3 of the world is technically in a recession. When it comes to India, well, obviously there are risks also. The same is true for the EU economy, but I also see very strong fundamentals in the Indian economy. And I've read the recent statement from the World Bank, whereby India should have the highest rate of growth among largest emerging economies. So that's very encouraging. And when it comes to the European Union, I also see forecasts which are progressively drawing a better picture, because our resilience and our capacity to react to the weaponization of fuel prices to Russia has surprised, I think, all observers. We are reducing drastically our imports from Russia in terms of energy, and we are accelerating into the greening of our energy mix. So all this together makes me think that yes, there will be inevitable challenges, but that I think we are well placed to address these challenges.
So, Ambassador, before we wrap up, I know you're a little short on time. I wanted to speak about India-EU science and technology cooperation. This is a very important area. You know, a lot of new innovations are coming up. So I believe the India-EU Joint Committee on S&T cooperation, it's a key body that creates sort of an action-oriented agenda on how EU and India can come up with great digital innovations, if not agricultural innovations as well. What has been the progress on this joint committee? What has it achieved since it was, researched?
No, I think you are very right in the sense that most of the issues we deal with together, of our cooperation, is underpinned by a strong research and innovation element. And the committee you refer to is, in a way, is a place where you decide, where you select the topics where you want to work together. It has, I think it has made considerable strides forward in the past few years. We have been working together in a number of topical issues, including health, energy, for instance. And it's very recent. Last week, a new joint call has been launched by the Indian government and the European Union within the framework of the Horizon program, selecting 11 areas of scientific research where we want Indian and European research institutions to work together. And the mechanism foresees a funding which is joint from India and the European Union. I think the Horizon program has proved its worth in India and globally, and it's an extremely useful instrument to create a culture of joint works between European and Indian institutions. But let me also recall the importance of people-to-people contact in that respect, and the steady flow of students. I'm sure you are familiar with the name of Erasmus, Erasmus Plus, another global program of the European Union, where I'm happy to say that the Indian contingent has been the largest among non-EU member states. So this year we have around 160 Indian students studying in European universities, and if you take the last 10 years, we have got around 6,000 Indian students. So I think these two programs, Horizon and Erasmus, are the epitome of what we can do together in terms of research and innovation.
Greatly put. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for speaking to The Print.